you know, who was a big brother to me in high school. He was 2 years ahead of me.
Say that
But I
all
think
over
I,
again, because
okay, when he comes back, okay.
no, right here, I just had to get that squeak out.
Okay.
Wipe your nose and say,
But when I was in high school, Vernon Jordan was a big brother at David T. Howard High School, who was ahead of me in the band. I think I mentioned this to you before. But when I was playing a trumpet. When I learned to play playing a trumpet when I left Catholic school, Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School in the 8th grade, and was going to high school in the 9th grade for the first time. So I wanted to be in the band, but they didn't need any trumpets then. So Vernon needed a baritone player. He was a baritone, the lead of the baritone section in our band. And so Vernon, over the summer, the next summer, taught me how to change the finger. The fingering was the same, but to learn the toning of the baritone horn as opposed to the trumpet, and that was how I got into the band quicker. There are so many out of Atlanta came so many of the special people that we know, like Maynard Jackson. I don't think. Okay.
Yeah, come on back in, John. John.
You may come in, enter. Open sesame.
We're waiting on you.
Open sesame.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Blow your nose good,
I
man.
did. I keep blowing it and blowing
There's
it.
Yeah,
something
but
in
you
here
know
that's
what?
kicking out.
It must be in the air.
No, it's something in here that.
Cause I know my daughter was dealing with the same thing too.
Okay,
It's never happened. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I told you that at the end of this interview about Julian Bond, I was gonna ask you to sing a song, a tribute of him, not the whole song. So what would you sing if you were able to sing something that was representative of him, your memory? You gotta fake that someplace else, your relationship with him. And just don't say it, just sing it.
If I could help somebody as I pass along, if I could do some goodness in a world of wrongs, something to that nature. I can't remember the words,
Oh, but that's perfect. And
Yeah.
you don't wanna sing the rest of it?
No, I mean, no, I could, but I mean, I would be blasting all down the hole.
That's okay. Give it a shot.
The words are what I can't always remember the words. I can remember what the words out of the regular old civil rights songs,
Such as?
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. Keep on a marching, keep on a marching, marching to the kingdom land.
That was beautiful.
Now, we used to have so many things, I mean, it was just, it was always music.
I'm
And,
gonna switch topics here.
okay,
And you've told me that you grew up with not your father in the home, but you had somebody that took you under his wing or made you an addition to the family.
Right.
Tell me about your relationship with Daddy King and how that developed a relationship with Martin and when it started.
I guess my total engagement with them began when I was around 8 years old or so. And Reverend King Sr., he looked out for all of us, period. The young people, the old ones, and everybody. He was the father of the church, period, rather than just the minister, the pastor. For him, pastoring meant all of that, He was responsible for it, so to speak. But his wife, Alberta Williams King, was unusually rare in the sense the way she would just reach out to people in the congregation and all. So I just happened to be one of those that they reached out to, and it stuck. And when I say that, she exposed me to a lot of things. Reverend King Sr. used to do, he would just as soon to yell out if I was sitting up in church and talking, and would stop his message, Albert! And if you were ever doing anything wrong, if you looked out and he saw you, boy, you knew you were going to get a paddling afterwards. But he recognized with his own sensitivity the importance of the father in the home and the absence of what that meant. And they just started including me in a lot of things. I came to Atlanta University to a convocation with Alberta Williams King when Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, was speaking at Atlanta University. And we were right over, it was outside, the chairs were from the administration building up to Trevor Arnett Library in the grassy area. And so she took me, and I was a boy. She took me with her to this convocation and the noonday. So we sat on the outside, and she sat me on the row so that I could just turn and look right down the aisle and see the march. And I had never really seen all this, the academic procession, Dr. Mays and Dr. Clement, and all them walking all up, and the faculties. But I was fascinated by the robes that they had, and I understood, I learned that day what a master's robe was. And I looked down, and the procession was coming up. The faculty had already gone. And so the platform part, I learned that from asking that's Dr. Mays. No, the platform party would come behind in the procession. And so she said, and so I looked back, and Mrs. Roosevelt, it was coming to her. And she seemed very tall to me then. And she looked, and she was coming down, she looked, I'm a kid. And she looked at me, and she looked like this, and she smiled. And as she got to me, like her eyes followed me. And she had on some black shoes. I never forget this. My grandmother, some of the older people used to wear these black shoes that had laces in them. But they would be dressed up on Sundays with those shoes, you know. And she had on some of those shoes, and she had on one of these robes, the black robes and everything. And she walked by me. I never forgot that. And I asked a lot of questions about that. And I talked over Reverend King Sr. too. And he was always very happy to see us pursue anything intellectually, you know, so it helped to broaden your thinking, you know. But in the household, they started on Boulevard, and then even when I'm grown, out at Dale Creek, I used to have keys to the house and go in, and like after when ML Jr. became famous, well, before that, AD and ML and Christine, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Somebody asked Christine, the oldest sister, asked her one. She said, well, where's this relationship you and Dr. Brinson always, Al Brinson's always, she said, well, it just is. That was a big word. And I laughed at it because it just is. And I'm probably no different than a lot of young men and women in black churches, Negro churches across, because that was our background. That was our rock, our wall. That church was the one who supported us and sent us out. So we've always been able to share as family. I laugh at this, but I thought Coretta Scott King, when ML brought her here before they were married, when she came down to visit, and I was over in the sanctuary at Ebenezer, and David Stills, I come down the street, and so David Stills was playing the organ. He's practicing. He would sit over in the church, and so Miss King had said earlier, she said, well, ML's young lady, she's coming down here to visit us. And so that was when, and so I was down to the church, so she brought her upstairs in the sanctuary. And nobody's in the church with Mrs. King and Coretta, and Dave Steele's at the console, and I'm just sitting down there. I sit down there and jive and talk to Dave all the time. I would come from school and walk by there and look anyway. And so I looked at her, I said, my goodness, ooh.
She was considered to be all
Oh, I thought she was beautiful, but she was class. She had on her glasses and all, and I remember she had bangs and long hair on the shoulder, and she was just, how are you? You know, I mean, just kind of, she was so different from something that attracted me, and the class kind of. So years later, I found my Coretta. I married my wife. No, I mean, I used to joke because they were at some points, people would come and they would mistake them. And so ML told me one day, Albert, I didn't know you had good taste. But this is the kind of relationships that we had as family. And it was, I don't know, Reverend King was like my every